Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for coming. Before I dive into the topic, I would like to give a short introduction of the Bioelectronics Research Group at EEE department. So we have 5 academics in the group. The group is led by Professor Demosthenes, including my colleague Sarah and myself, my colleague Dr. Asam Shiraz and Dr. Yu Wu. So the research we do include several themes. The first major theme is neural interface, where we develop electronics to interact with the human nervous system. So one example here, as you can see, is a project we just finished very recently. In this project, we develop an implantable neural interface for heart transplant patients. So after the heart is transplanted to a new body, we put electronics here to interact with the vagal nerve that connects to the heart so that we can deliver neuromodulation to regulate the heartbeat. And we have wireless communication facility here, so we can have remote sensors, across the body to send information to the implant so that we can facilitate closed-loop neuromodulation. And also, in terms of supply this kind of implant, we develop a wearable device, well, not wearable, the device that can put on the heart. So the device itself doesn't have any battery. It harvests energy from the heartbeat and convert energy to supply the sensors on board and send information out. In addition to this invasive implantable electronics, we also work on wearable electronics to collect signal from the brain-computer interface and process the signal to interpret what this person is thinking, what the intention is. A second theme of the research group is in sensing and imaging, which I will focus on this later. And also we develop, this is another example, we use impedance measurement on the cochlear electrode for surgical guide. So when the electrode array is pushed through this spiral shape of cochlea, the electrode can measure the impedance of the surrounding tissue so that we know the precision of electrode and send the signal out so the surgeon will know exactly where the electrode is during the surgery. And we also use similar principle using bioimpedance measurement and also ultrasound measurement for hand gesture interpretation and use that for robotics. And also, we have work led by my colleague Sarah on sensor and instrumentation. Sarah gave a brilliant talk last year in the Festival of Research. Just a brief summary here. As you can see, this is a complete lab on the chip with electrodes built in on the chip. So the single chip can facilitate biosensing for glucose, for dopamine, etc. And also here is an example of a less invasive wearable device as a mouth guard. So this device can sense the bioinformation biomarkers such as pH values in saliva and detect the condition of the body in real time. So now let's focus on the theme I'm going to talk about today on energy efficient medical imaging. These are currently the major medical imaging mode in hospital. X-ray and CT scan, we know they give very high resolution, but it's radiative and it requires a large machine there. It's the same for MRI. Ultrasound is comparably portable, but still it needs the hospital setup, it needs ultrasound gel, etc. So all these modalities require a clinical setup. It's very good for diagnostic purpose, but if we want chronic monitoring, probably we want something small, we want something variable, non-invasive, of course, and radiation-free And very importantly, it's low price so that it's accessible to a wider group of patients. And probably if we can include everything, all these electronics onto a single chip, then we can distribute it outside the hospital setup for telemedicine so that we don't have to join a long queue just to know the condition of our body from time to time. And for this purpose, we use this modality for imaging called electrical impedance tomography. So the principle is very straightforward. If we want to know the impedance variation of a body here, we put a ring of electrode around, and then we inject AC signal here. We measure the voltage across the ring. If we repeat this operation by a circle, we collect all the voltage information around this ring. Then we can form a matrix. From this matrix, using inverse problem, we can derive the impedance in this, inside this body. And if the impedance goes up or down from the reference, we can use different color to show this variation. So that using this principle, we can image the change inside the body in real time. So here is an example. We put electrode around a tank filled with salt water, and we have a plastic object moving around, so that using this principle, we can detect the movement of the object in real time. And with the same principle, we can use it for medical imaging. For example, here we can use this technique to image the lung movement during respiration, because we know that when we breathe, the air flow will push the blood flow around, and this will cause impedance variation. So here, this technology has already been implemented in clinical setup. So here, on the right-hand side, you see two images created from electrical impedance tomography, EIT, with comparison to the X-ray image here. So in this case, as you can see, this lung is intact, but this blue area shows that the right lung is not functioning. And from the X-ray image, you can see this is the intact lung, but this side, this lung collapsed. This is a control patient with both lungs working properly. This example is more useful in the clinical sense. So this is a case where it's a preterm baby breathing through a ventilator. And ventilator sometimes will have errors causing the part of lung fails. So using this EIT image, you can see only one side of the lung is working, the other side is not. And the nurse looking at this information can adjust the ventilator in time so that both lungs return the normal operation condition. This is the aim of a previous research project for chronic monitoring for preterm babies. This is just a history of EIT in clinical setup from the 1992, the first EIT device for lung imaging built in Sheffield. You can see to the right now, this is an EIT device used in hospital. And the future is to have everything shrink it on the chip so that we can have a fully wearable device and without any cable attached to the patient. We have been working on this idea for quite a long time, since 1996, to build a fully wearable chest belt for EIT. So these are two versions we built previously. As you can see, compared to the state of art, we can deliver the highest frame rate. This is the very important parameter. It's how fast we can measure the movement of the lung, especially for preterm babies. The breath rate is a lot faster than adult. If we measure at very low frame rate, it's the same as taking photo with a very slow camera. We lose information. And this is a prototype we built in 2019. As you can see, we put it on ourselves. We can see the image of the lung during the respiration cycle. And we also put accelerometers on the chest belt so that we can measure the shape of the chest. Using this shape, we can get more precise image reconstruction. But this still comes at a significant cost. It's the power. This device consumes nearly 1 watt of energy, probably okay for clinical setup. It's too energy demanding for a wearable device at home use. And to reduce the energy demand, what we need to do is to look at the principle of impedance measurement. So this is a very simple principle. This is an electrical model of the human cell. As you can see, there is resistive element, there is capacitive element. So if we inject a sinusoidal wave and measure the response, we can detect the change in the magnitude and the phase so that we can work out the resistive element and the reactive element. So this is a traditional hardware architecture of EIT measurement. We have a sinusoidal wave generator to generate differential sinusoidal current injected to the body, and we measure the voltage response across the electrode array. After conditioning and digitization in the digital domain, we do coherent demodulation. So it's very similar to the principle in communication circuit. We have multiplier to multiply the in-phase and quadrature signal and derive the in-phase and quadrature element after low-pass filtering or accumulation. So the in-phase in this context is resistive and quadrature is reactive. And then we work out the impedance altogether. The principle is very straightforward, but if we look at this architecture, the analog to digital conversion here consumes a lot of energy because we normally inject 10 to hundreds of kilohertz to detect the reactive element as well. In order to have high resolution, we have to sample it at tens of megasamples per second. In order to achieve tens of megasamples per second, this sampling rate, and also we have to sample at a very high resolution to get as much information as possible. Each conversion involves 12 comparisons in order to get one sample out, and we have to get, in this example, 14 megasamples per second for satisfactory measurement. And this analog to conversion alone consumes 135 milliwatts using this 89237 commercial IC. So 135 milliwatts may be acceptable if we have a power supply plugged on the wall supply in the ICU, but definitely not with a coin cell battery. To reduce the energy demand, we come up with a new method. As you can see here, actually, using the conventional A to D conversion method, we can get all the details about the signal. But we already know plenty of details of the signal when we inject sinusoidal current. We know the cell model is a RC model, so that the response must be sinusoidal, must have the same frequency. So all we need to know is the magnitude and the phase, and then we can derive the resistive and the reactive element. So that our PhD student Dai Jiang come up with this solution. We compare the voltage response with a DC level. We know this DC voltage level, and we know this period, how long it is. We just count how long this period is between these two crossing points. Then we have all the information we need to work out the magnitude, and also we know when we inject the current, we know where the zero phase is, so that we also know where what the phase delay of the voltage response is. In this way, we only need to sample 40 megasamples with binary operation instead of 12 conversions. We can derive all the information. So Dai Jiang went on to develop this chip, and the whole system, including the analog digital converter and the current driver, the analog signal condition circuit, consumes 1.76 milliwatt. So in comparison, if we use this coin cell battery, this AD5933 is the state-of-art commercial IC in the market for single-channel impedance measurement. Supplied with this battery, it can work about 20 hours. With our chip, larger bandwidth, 16 more channels, the chip under this battery can work for 16 days. And we tried it on our body. We correctly imaged the lung, and we compared the impedance measurement with a benchtop impedance analyzer, and you can see the phase and the magnitude aligned with the benchtop instrument very well. I'll skip this part. And also, our PhD student Tian Yang used the impedance measurement in other applications in hand gesture recognition. So by optimally place the electrode on the arm and measure the impedance variation during muscle contraction, during the relative movement between muscle and bone, we can have enough information to match the pattern of impedance with different gestures. So this is a demo of using simply impedance measurement to control a robotic arm, and with proper force control as well to pick up an object. And after that, you can see to move an object. So that's for robotic hand moving to the object, pick it up, and put it down. All with a very optimal number of impedance electrode around the arm. This is acknowledgement to all the team. This is a collaboration with Middlesex University as well, and all the research funded by UKRI and European Union. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dai, for the presentation. It was great to learn about the elegant method you recently published. We have time for one question. Yes?
I'm not familiar with DIT. I guess one of the challenges we always have with the... Hello? Yes. One of the challenges we always have with imaging, and particularly ones people are less familiar with, is the interpretation. The physical interpretation is clear, it's impedance. But clinically, is it clear what that means? I guess this was always a problem with MRI. Not so much now, but it's some combination of the character and density of the tissue and the blood flow and blood oxygenation. So if you get a bright spot, is it clear, and this is well established what that means clinically?
Yes, well, there's still a lot to do, but right now, in addition to imaging the volume of the lung, we can actually do a regional analysis. So if part of the lung collapses, and also looking at the absolute impedance value, we can detect tissue property change. So using, not exactly for lung imaging, but using impedance measurement, we can detect cancer tissue for biopsy, for example.
Yeah, okay, so you use something about the combination of amplitude and phase to see something about the tissue?
Yes, so that's the advantage of having information, both the resistive and reactive element.
Okay, thank you.